GOGI. Learn GOGI tools, real lessons to live by.
Hi, this is Carolyn. I'm known as GOGI Mom Carolyn, and welcome to our GOGI Zoom.
I'm so happy to have you guys here, and thank you for joining this meeting. Now, we have weekly GOGI Power Up meetings, and weekly Power Up meetings are all about the tools, and they go with the calendar. And so we follow a calendar, and internationally, we all study the same tool at the same time. However, if you're watching this on an institutional channel, if you're watching it on YouTube, chances are you aren't on the same calendar because we don't have control over when anybody is airing anything or when you see it on YouTube. But every fifth Monday, anytime there is a fifth Monday, we have a week called My Life Story. And the My Life Story week is actually a wonderful time because we get to do the My Life Story and guest appearance at a Power Up meeting. So this is kind of like that. This is not a Power Up meeting. This is kind of like having some guests, and I'm your host, and we have a couple of special guests today. I want to really kind of dive into their GOGI journey. We have Silo or Solo. I see it's Tracy Taola. You are not Tracy Taola.
No, I am not. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
So Tracy Taola, this is my wife's computer. And so, yes, I'm usually on my phone, but now I'm on a computer. I don't know if you can see me. I think I'm not. Anyways, so nice to be here, and shout out Coach James for just always staying on top of me to make these meetings, and so shout out Coach James, and it's a privilege to be here.
So if you are not Tracy, what name do you go by?
Well, my name is Ciolo, but everyone calls me Solo, and so I'm sorry. So you're probably seeing Tracy. It's my wife's computer, if that makes sense. So.
All right, Solo. Well, and we also have Coach Ellis with us, and I would like to kind of spotlight and highlight you two as special guests. Now, if you're running a Power Up meeting, every time you have a fifth Monday, you get to do the special guest meeting. And that's when somebody can kind of share about their GOGI journey or participate in discussions with someone like me asking questions. So what I'd first like to do is find out a little bit about Coach Ellis and his journey to coach, and now what he's doing now that he's a free man. So Coach Ellis, can you kind of give us a brief synopsis of when did you hear about GOGI? What did you think about it? How did you take that journey to coach? And now what are you doing now that you're no longer a CDCR individual, you're out on your own with your own business? Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. So my journey in the system began when I was 8, and I ended up in state prison at the age of 18. I ultimately spent 26 years in state prison on a 16 life sentence. During my time, my later years, this was after, all the political stuff, and you start to, it grinds you down. It really does. And I don't care how long you were in the politics, at some point when that cell door closes, you start to question your own sanity. You're like, what the hell am I doing? And because it's a facade. Once that door opened, I got that armor on now. But, after a while, it doesn't work for you. And so what happens is people like James comes around and they start waving a book and they saying, hey, has anybody seen this? And that's how I got introduced to it. Is, I've known James for years, and I didn't know that he was a part of this organization. I knew he was a part of AVP, AANA. And so from there, here I am.
So talk to me. You got the position of coach, you earned the title of coach, but then see, Coach James is showing something. That's one of my most favorite pieces of artwork. I have lots of favorite. There's thousands of pieces, but this one in particular, it strikes a chord with me because it's a puzzle piece, and there are pieces of the puzzle. Talk to me about that piece of art, and whose name is the artist at the bottom of that?
I am. What what was interesting about that, what was really interesting about that piece was James and I were having a conversation, and he was again hounding me for artwork. You know, I'm an accomplished portrait artist, tattooist, and I just wasn't interested in putting forth that effort of sitting down and focusing on creating a piece of art. You know, I just, but he kept, James has a way of whittling you down, you know, and so I was like, all right, fine. I didn't tell him. In my head, I was like, okay, I got to. I just have to now. Now I'm inspired in some way. I didn't know why, but one weekend I just sat down and I did it, and I didn't think about it. That's the beautiful part. I didn't think about the piece and the meaning. It just manifested, and I sat down. I mapped it out, and it took me, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 hours, and then I inscribed on the back after I was done with it, because I was in the zone. I was in that frequency, and then I inscribed on the back for you, and then I sent it off. But really, when you take a step back and you look at it, and there is a missing piece, and there is a very significance to that missing piece, is that we are all that missing piece.
Beautiful. And I think that speaks to GOGI. We have always said since the very beginning, we are the solution. Whoever we are, wherever we are the solution.
That's
And
right.
not the government, not the parents, not the CDCR, nobody else. We are the solutions. And I think that's maybe why that piece of art resonates with me so much, is because every single one of us is the solution, not only to our own problems, but every problem around us that we see, we are the solution for that. And we can show up as the solution.
There's another perspective, is I'm sure that people have heard every life is a biography. And if you have not heard that term, think about it. So when you meet somebody on the streets, or even a family member, right? You think, oh, I know everything about my family member. No, you don't. No, you don't. Open up a family album, start going through the pictures. Oh, who's that? Who's that? Guess what? That's a biography. That's a whole nother aspect of life that you have no clue, right? That's a part of you. That's a part of your history that you don't even understand. So why do I think this way? Why do I behave this way? Well, was Auntie so-and-so, she was kind of, oh, and I kind of see that. But now that you're able to recognize that, that gets into the whole, GOGI thing, is that now, oh, wait, there's a pattern here, and I want to stop that pattern because it's a legacy. But that's for another conversation.
From a boy who's 8 to getting your level of insight, problems at 8, which probably means problems at 7, you just started getting caught at 8, or problems at 6. So we're talking about a long pattern of decision making, but you're speaking like someone with a lot of wisdom and conviction in what you're saying. Is that possible for anyone?
Anybody. So let me say this. I literally put myself in prison. I literally put myself there. The example is, so I got arrested when I was 17 in December, right before Christmas. I got pulled over. I was driving a friend's car, no lights on. They arrested me for possession of a stolen car. I didn't know that he called it in as stolen. So I get convicted of possession of stolen property, and I have to do 6 months. Well, when I transitioned from juvenile hall to county jail, I had 1 week of stay of execution because I had some financial affairs to get in order. So I did a month in juvenile hall, and then when I went to county jail, I was to serve the rest of it. When I got out, I told the bailiff that I was going to be back, and he looked at me and he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Well, either for a large quantity of drugs or for murder." And in his astonishment, he's like, why would you say that? And I told him, I said, it's just going to happen. 5 months later, at 4:30 in the morning, they brought me in the same booking with the same bailiff. And he said, "Wow, you called that." I literally put myself because I wanted to destroy me. And I didn't care who I took with me. I didn't. So coming from a survivor at age 8 and understanding that the system did not care about me, when the police would not even protect me as a child, who else was I to turn to but myself? I had nobody. So the world to me was the enemy. And I viewed it that way. And after a while, I viewed myself as the enemy. And I wanted to take myself out of it. I wanted to destroy myself to the point to where I couldn't even recognize who I was. And again, I did a very good job of it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a few of our people. This is our wonderful core GOGI things, and then we're going to get over to Solo and talk to him. But Coach Johnny, can you resonate at all with that feeling that nobody cared about me and I was going to take everybody down on my way down? Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I thought he was telling my story.
Oh.
It's interesting because I think many people share that similarity. But the interesting part for me is that many people don't recognize it, or they choose not to recognize it. They don't do the work to identify what contributed to them going to prison, making those decisions. The fact that he can identify that part of his life, and being able to share that story is so impactful for the men and women who are in prison, who are going to be seeing this video, to be able to tell their own story. It's one thing to go into the board and they're telling you your life story. They're telling you your life. And then you can go in there at one time in your life and you can actually tell them, like, this is what contributed. And you're not afraid of the truth. So I really honor you, Coach Ellis, and your courage for being able to share that, being able to identify that, living the life that you have, and also letting us know that James kind of contributed to that. He's an amazing individual. And it's
Yeah.
great to see Cholo too.
Yeah.
And he is.
Coach Al,
And if I may say something about what he said about the parole board, is that the day that I got my date, is I literally went in, this is what I did. I literally went in there and I told myself, all pretense aside, I don't care what's in front of them. I don't care. I'm going to go in there and have a conversation with 2 human beings. And if I don't connect with them on that level, then I deserve to be locked up. And you know what happened? I sat in front of the same commissioner that denied me 5 years. You know what he said? He leaned back. He goes, I can definitely tell you for a fact that you have changed. All because I had that shift in mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a prisoner. I'm a free man. And I'm going in there and I'm having a conversation with 2 other humans who just happen to have the ability to, release me. Well, guess what? They're going to release me today. That's how I got released.
Huh. Coach Al, can you resonate with his story, and how?
I can definitely resonate with his story. Like Coach Johnny said, it sounded like he was telling my story. If you think about it, well, with me, I grew up as a child, being abused, by my father, physically abused, tore me down, belittled me, made me feel like I was worse than nothing by the abuse that I went through. Then I started to abuse myself, over and over and over again. I used drugs for over 20 years. I adopted work beliefs and became a gang member. That is all self-destruction, and then throughout that whole time, that whole self-destruction, you're destroying everybody else around you, your family members, and just anybody close to you, even the people the other gang members that you were hanging around with, you were helping them destroy their lives also, but like Coach Alice was saying, there was a time where it switched, it switched. And with me, man, the GOGI tools have helped me, build myself back up, and becoming the positive man that I am today. And not only do I use these tools to continue to build myself up and use them daily, it's helping them, using them to help build others up around me. Tuesday night, we had a CGA class in CIM. And one of the questions was, and I started using, GOGI tools, you know, with positive, positive encouraging words. And I had everybody go around and ask them if they were a positive example, to others. And I shared the story also of about how when you came into to North Kern, right? And what was it? I think it was Kern Valley. Yeah, Kern Valley. And I just got out of shoe from all those years. And we started doing GOGI in the whole section. At first, there was a lot of tension. We were all angry. But then next thing you know, after a while of doing GOGI and everybody getting involved, it's like the positivity spread it towards each other. Instead of coming out with a mad dog looking face, everybody's giving each other positive and encouraging words to each other, building ourselves up, building each other up around us. And that's the beauty, with GOGI. And that's one of the ways I apply it to my life. But so thank you for.
I love that. Gira Bernie, you are in charge of all our Spanish speakers. Would you mind get a little bit closer? I'd like you to just do a shout out to some of our Spanish speakers in Spanish about what they might be hearing. Some of them really don't speak a lot of English. So would you mind just kind of give it a paragraph or two?
Claro que sí, Coach Taylor. I hope you can hear me. Quiero explicar para aquellos que están mirando el video que no hablan en inglés, que estamos ahorita compartiendo fases de nuestra vida que nos hacen mal, viviendo la vida negativa. Y el Señor estaba diciendo que estaba compartiendo con nosotros cómo Él se estaba destruyendo Él mismo. Y nosotros nomás le estamos siguiendo las historias, compartir cómo las herramientas de GOGI nos ayudan a ser más positivos y vivir una vida más productiva, no nomás para nosotros, sino para toda la gente que está alrededor de nosotros. Esperamos que a todos ustedes entiendan de una manera u otra que de eso son las juntas aquí. Son para compartir las herramientas de GOGI y cómo usarlas en su vida. Muchas gracias. GOGI por vida.
Thank you, Gira. Thank you, dear. Now, let's talk to Solo for a minute. Solo, you're listening to the story. You don't know Coach Ellis from anybody. I think you know Coach Al, maybe you know Coach Johnny, but just from our GOGI Zoom meetings, how does this strike you and how can you resonate with what's being said?
Thank you, Coach Taylor. I just want to say thank you for this time. Well, I got involved with GOGI through a community activist here locally in Salt Lake by the name of Susie. And I have been going, she had a program for the Polynesian people around Salt Lake, me being Polynesian. And so there was a trauma course that they were doing. And I went to that trauma course. And upon being there, it was a safe space and I became vulnerable that day. And so after I told my story, after Susie came up to me and invited me to meet Coach Johnny and Coach James and everyone and GOGI Mom. So anyways, the following Tuesday, I went and I followed up, went to the Zoom meeting, and it was very powerful for me. And so, and just a little bit about me, I'm an immigrant. And so my family moved here in 1980. And so the Polynesian community in California was basically the LDS church or the Mormon. A lot of us come by way of that church. And so the local Polynesians in California worked at the canneries and whatnot. So a lot of us were in these places like Carson, California, Compton, California, these rough neighborhoods. And so when I immigrated from the islands, it was the uptick. I came here in '80, so it was the very start of gangs. And so I was in South Central Compton, California. And so I was very much influenced by that culture. And when I came here, my families, my uncles, my cousins, heavily involved. And so no English. The first word I knew was Crip, blood. I was learning how to fight. I was stealing the first day I was here, if that makes sense. And so this energy, and so I grew up this way. And so when crack became an epidemic in California, they recruited young guys like me. At that age, I was 13. So I'm the young kid. I'm holding the crack. And I'm on full-on gangbanger mode at this point. No life tools. I got a great family though. I wasn't abused. And I think I speak for a lot of us kids who grew up in that era, who great parents, but when you're living in that and you're making that kind of money at 13, and then you don't have the life tools. You have no idea how to communicate. And so what happened was my parents ended up finding out that I was running with gangs and whatnot. They decided to move me out here, and basically I brought myself out here from California to Utah. Another culture shock, right? And so I'm in a very conservative state, and it's very different. And there's no gangs, but I'm still in gang activities. I don't have no basic tools. I don't know how to process what's going on. And so I just become this belligerent, dangerous, volatile young man here, violent, because that's all I knew how to deal with. And that's how I grew up with my friends. Those were the friends that I wanted. Those are friends. And so long story short, that all accumulated. In 2016, I have a younger brother. And so my younger brother, I told him everything. Yeah, he did everything. The way I raised him was, you're going to handle it like I handle things, which is violence, attack. You're going to handle things a certain way, because that's all we knew. Well, he was in an altercation in broad daylight, and all he knew was what I told him to do. Well, this other young man had a gun, and my brother had no other choice. He had no other communication other than what I told him. You're going to do whatever it takes. You're not going to back down. And he had watched me many times do this. And so he naturally did it. Well, this man shot my brother and killed him in the street in broad daylight. And I was a block away, 2 blocks away probably. And so that really it was really tough, because I didn't even know what to do. And so that trauma was so, I spent that next year just in a daze. I didn't know what to do. I would wake up and just didn't want to live, but I didn't know what to do. And as the trauma, and so I, with the help of my family and with the help of friends like Susie, and then coming to GOGI and learning these tools, make more sense of some of the things. And these tools have been so helpful. And even though I haven't been making it to the meetings because I've been so busy, but these are I'm always in my book looking at some of the ideas to help me kind of deal with everyday situations. Because, it's just sometimes life is kind of rough. It's pretty rough out there. So
though I have a question for you. There are so many people on YouTube and other places and institutional channels that are going to watch this and see that guy is telling my story. One of the first things you said was that safe space to process the trauma. How do you know if some place is safe? Where do you feel safety? And how do you do the layers of the trauma? Because you have a lot of viewers here that have had unfortunate circumstances, either with themselves or their families. Your story is not unique. It's terrible, but it's not unique. There's tens of thousands, if not millions of people who have had such traumatic events. How do you know in your heart that a place is safe to process the trauma? Because we all seek that. We all want that. Where's that safe place? How did you know it was safe?
The first thing when I realized a safe space was feeling protected. And when you feel protected, that means when I feel protected, that means I am able to be vulnerable. I'm able to tell my story and let out my feelings. And it's not taken in a way, it's being able to be received and reciprocated in a way. So feeling protected for me, it makes a safe space.
Now, let me clarify, Solo. You're not talking about a bunch of guys with guns in a circle.
No. That's no. I mean, no, I mean this space here with men who have seen that dark space, who have walked that, who have nothing to prove and can hear your story and know what it means and not, does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
It's different when you're talking to immature men, I guess is what I'm saying. When you're talking to grown men, there's a certain silence and a certain respect and a certain back and forth, that protection you feel. And so with GOGI, you're talking about men who have done straight time. And so to hear Coach Ellis and Coach James talk about, oh yeah, I was 24 years, and then they get out and then they're like, I've been out since 1998. I've been off parole. And I've been living life, but I haven't had these tools, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've had it because the only tools I've had is a great relationship with my wife and a great relationship with my family. But these other problem-solving skills, the trauma's always been there. And until I've had these GOGI tools, I've just been walking around without answers. And so I feel really protected and really safe when I'm talking to Coach James and having Coach Justin and Coach Johnny and, everyone focusing on me and giving me feedback. It's amazing.
Beautiful. I love hearing that, Solo. I want to jump to Stacy for a moment, and then I'd love to hear from Justin for just a second. We are over our time a little bit, but I do think it's still very valuable. So Stacy, you are not new to GOGI, but really GOGI is something that's been introduced to you in a different way. Can you just talk for a moment how you feel safe, how you feel protected, how that vulnerable space is created for you to explore your own journey?
So how I feel protected in this space. I think because everybody here is going through something, and some people here even know exactly what I'm going through when I say it. So I don't think that there's anybody here that's going to judge me or hate me or not like me or whatever insecurities I may have, outside of certain spaces where you have to kind of worry about that. So that's how I feel, protected. I feel like I'm with, even though I have never been to prison or jail, I've never been caught. So I feel like I'm with some like individuals that the more I share, which I haven't shared really much at all in my life to anybody. So I've spilled a few things out in these meetings that I would never think of ever telling anybody. And I do have a lot of trauma to unwrap that I haven't. And like Solo said, I never had the tools to deal with the things that were going on around me. And like Coach Ellis said, his problem started at 8. My problem started well younger than that. And so clearly little kids don't have tools to even understand why, things are happening at all. And so there's not a lot of places where I ever really felt safe enough to share certain things. Yeah.
Thank you, Stacy. One question for you, Justin. How is it that a GOGI Power Up meeting, how is it that a GOGI community, it just intrinsically, almost automatically creates that space of safety and humanhood and love? What is it, in your opinion, that makes the GOGI Power Ups so uniquely supportive?
Yeah, I think it's we're all there. We have a unified purpose. We have similar experiences, and we know each other, and so we have we feel safe. There's trust, which I think is real important. At first, for me, that safety, it becomes an internal state to where it's not dependent on things outside, but it could start out that way. But then your safe spot is yourself. It's your identity. It's having confidence in who you are to where you can tell it to anybody, free of fear of judgment. Who cares? That's what the tool. What if? I'm not my past. And that's what's great about having so many tools. I like what Coach Ellis said about going to the board and just talking to other human beings, other people on the same level. Of course, they have authority and they have power to grant him a future. But the same thing, you have to have that human connection. You can't go in there fearful and things like that. And you really got to connect. And I know that was important for me. And today, through the tools, I mentioned the tools. I went in there with a list of about 30 tools. I was going to write GOGI down as one, but I said, you know what? I'm going to put down all 12 of them individually, because what like Ciolo said, he knew two things: attack and violence. That's a lack of choices. Every tool is an opportunity and another choice. And that's what we didn't have before. So the more choices you have, the more chances you are of having a positive outcome. So that's what I love. All the tools they give you, the GOGI itself gives you 12 options, and it's great. And that you get to a place where every place is a safe place because you're confident and you're okay with your past and you love who you are today.
I love hearing that. And our meeting is now I think we're 12 minutes over, which is a shame, but I know they will keep every last second of everything that's said because it is profound, it's powerful, and it's positive, and that's kind of how we roll with GOGI. With the audience, I want them to really look at our faces. I want them to see the diversity that we represent on the screen, diversity in backgrounds, religions, beliefs, cultures, political parties, color of our skins. There's not one person here that has had the same experience as another. And still we are an extremely tight bonded family. Anywhere we go, when we see a GOGI brother or sister, we know we are GOGI family because we speak the language of the GOGI Life Tools. We know the GOGI Life Tools, they're integral to everything that we do. So I want to invite the viewers to explore the GOGI Life Tool. Just use one, just find one and use it. Because once you use that one tool, an entire world of possibilities is open to you. And I think we're going to close with the pledge. Who wants to say the pledge? And I hope you guys come back. We're going to be filming these meetings every week and broadcasting them every week. And we love having you here. And we're going to have a couple more special guests next week to talk about their GOGI journey. Who wants to say our pledge?
I'll say it.
You know what? Stacy raised her hand. And if you don't mind, if we will have Stacy do it, that would be really kind of cool.
Okay.
Okay, GOGI pledge of service. So everybody repeat after me. May our commitment
Commitment
to the study of GOGI
To the
study of
GOGI
grant us the joy
grant
grant us the joy
of giving and receiving
of
of giving and receiving
so that our inner freedom
So
So
that-
that
So that our inner freedom
may be of maximum service
Maybe a
Maybe
be
a
of
maximum
maximum
service.
service
to those we love
To those we
To
love
those we love
and infinite others.
and
and
infinite others.
infinite
others.
Thank you, everybody. Keep it
Gogi
Gogi.
for life.
We'll see you later. Gogi for life.
Gogi
Bye.
for life.
G-O-G-I. Yogi told me this, I gotta do it. G-O-G-I. G-O-G-I.